This is lesson 4 in mastering, and we're just doing a really simple approach to mastering. And if you want to get deeper into this thing, it's pretty astounding how far you can go into the art and the science behind the methods of mastering a piece of audio. So let's take a look at this piece of audio here. Let's see what we've got. It looks like it's got a lot of nice dynamic range. You can tell that by the peaks are really high, and then there's little spaces in here where you see next to nothing. So it kind of tells you too that it's very clean. If you look here, that doesn't look like there's any signal here between these samples. So it looks like it's a very clean signal, very clean piece of audio. So let's take a listen to some sections of this. Okay. And it's a good idea to listen to a piece of audio at least 3 times to kind of give you an idea of what you're dealing with before you go kind of messing around with it. And hear those nice highs and everything. And really nice low mid punch on the kick. Okay, let's move along just in the interest of time. Oh, we have voice. Okay, so get into frequency-wise where that sets. How about further down the road? Ooh, we have some sub-frequencies. Okay, how about here? Okay, we're back into that. Okay, let's see down here. This looks a little different. Let's listen to it. Okay, it looks just like that. Okay, well, let's see what's happening here. Okay, so it's got a lot of nice sub frequencies in it. Ooh, listen to that. Good news, it's not bleeding here, right? Okay. Nice punchy. Okay, and let's see what this in sounds like. Okay, well, that looks good. All right, so we know kind of what we have to look forward to here. So let's look at these 2 different devices here. Now, there are standalone limiters like this. This happens to be a Pro limiter, and this is, of course, in Pro Tools, and it's a add-on piece of software that you can get for Pro Tools. But what a limiter basically does, and I don't want to get into this specific limiter, but what a limiter basically does is it sets a ceiling of how hot, how loud a piece of audio can get. And then you adjust the threshold here to boost this. This sounds weird. You turn the knob down to make it louder. And we'll get into that in another tutorial as to why that works. But understand that a limiter doesn't change the tone of the mix. So it's just going to make it louder. So let's take a listen here. So here's, we'll put it right here in the mix, right here in this section. Let me kick this bypass off. It doesn't sound much louder than it did, but let me go ahead and drop the threshold back. The bypass. Okay. Now, so because all we're doing is we're throwing a limiter on the tail end of that, we're really not, even though it does have just a little bit of a tone difference. It sounds just a little different. Again, this is a limiter, and the reason for a limiter primarily is to set the ceiling, how loud a piece of audio can get, and to make it louder by adjusting this thing called a threshold. There are other things that come into play with this particular limiter, but I'm not going to get into that right now, okay? So that I'm going to kick the bypass on that and shrink that down. And then we have another kind of thing that we sort of built. We did more than sort of build. We built one. So this is a Pro multiband. What? It's a multiband compressor. So here's what we have. We have a lot of knobs. We have 4 sections that look mysteriously like they're very similar to each other. And you look up here and you can see, oh, well, there's frequencies, 20 hertz to 199.7. Well, I'll be darned. This looks really a lot like that DIY multi-band compressor that we did. And remember, with the multi-band compressor, it was like having 2 things in one. You have compression and you have an EQ. So the EQ can change the tone of the track, and the compressor can boost or hold back certain aspects of the track. Not really limiting it, but compressing it, kind of squishing it, okay? So I'm not going to get into the specifics of this multiband compressor, but I do want you to hear the difference. So here's that section of the track again. Now it's bypassed right now, so we're hearing the track as it appears. Now here. So you can see it's kind of pushing back. You can hear the difference. It's pushing back those lows. Hear it? How the lows are very present. And just like in our other multiband compressor, we can solo. I'm going to solo these lows. And just like in our other multiband compressor, we can adjust what frequencies we're actually working with. So we can twist a couple knobs. See how it's adjusting that? Let's play that again. We move that around and see we're soloing out. Let's solo this out. It's kind of like that kind of edgy kind of. And we'll adjust these out. Okay, let's hear that. Okay. So, see how much of that. And I'm not explaining to you what we're doing. We're basically changing this bandwidth here, what frequencies we're covering, and we're adjusting a couple controls here to see what it'll change sonically, how it's going to affect the sound. Now, let's look at this. Now, this is the high mids and highs. So this looks like overall volume, right? And this looks like how much compression we're introducing, maybe. And this is the threshold. Let's hear what the highs sound like. Wow, that's some really high highs. Can you hear how high those are? Let's back them off a little bit. That's my hi-hats. Okay, what does that sound like now? Starting to sound pretty good. Let's hit the bypass and see what a difference we've made. Wow, it's kind of cleaned it up a little bit, hasn't it? See, the original is kind of, now sounds kind of muddy. And now this version of it with the multiband compressor on it sounds like it's sounding a little bit more clean and pristine. But the problem is, look over here. It's starting to make the mix kind of bleed. So when you start doing that with something like this, you know now you definitely need a limiter. So the limiter is kind of going to push back against that. So let's listen to that with the limiter on there, and it's going to get rid of this problem right here. Because we really cranked these levels up here, and now we want to kind of counteract it. And now you can hear, it's like the threshold on this is too much. And it's pushing back so hard, it's kind of making that pulse, that breathing thing we talked about. No, it's not. Okay, let's listen to that again. Okay, well let's hear the difference then. So this is before. And after. Before. And after. Now, again, I'm not telling you this is what the end product is supposed to sound like. What I am saying is that part of the mastering chain that we've got here involves the use of a multi-band compressor and a limiter, and both of those have an amazing value to you when you're doing the mastering process. So remember, the multi-band compressor compresses and shapes the frequencies, while the limiter, essentially all it does is hold everything down to a certain level to put out, and then it also will, through the adjustment of the threshold, make the entire piece louder. Okay? Have fun with your next mastering experience. Enjoy your time. And remember, that person in the mirror, say something nice to them, because they need some encouragement every day.